Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to put the rocker arms and push rods into the 5.9 Magnum. First of all, we're going to have a set of old rocker arms. In most cases, you're going to be able to just reuse your rocker arms. You most likely don't need to buy new ones. On the Magnums, they come as these pairs, or they are assembled in these pairs anyway. Whereas on an LA motor, they sit on a rocker shaft. So in this case, we can take them apart. You just kind of rock it to the side. And they come off. Now what you want to look for on these is you want to look where the push rod attaches. Look for any strange wear. They'll typically be shiny. If it's dull or has any galling on it, that's going to be a problem, and you're going to look at wanting to replace something like that. Look where it contacts the valve. This one, looks nice, looks fine. Then we take out the pivot. We can actually take the bolt out here real quick. These things are pretty dirty, but nothing a wire wheel and some solvent can't cure. You take the pivot out. And the important thing here is take a look at these faces. This is what the rocker arm pivots on. Make sure that it's not overly worn, looks nice and shiny. Check both the pivot and down inside there. So this pivot looks good. Down inside the rocker looks good. Now one thing to note here is you'll see this lubrication line. Basically it's a channel that allows oil to flow through there. Come on, focus. They taper in, right? They taper this direction, so wider here than up here. And if you look at your rocker, you can see in there a line as well. When you're assembling these, they need to match. So this one here gets narrow toward the back. So when this one goes back in, it needs to go narrow toward the back. They can go either way, so sometimes this one, it's narrow toward the back. I've got other ones that are narrow down toward the front. So just make sure when you're assembling that the pivot goes in there the way that it came out. We'll take these rockers, take them over to the wire wheel, clean them up. Once you get them all clean, they'll look like this. Get all your push rods clean. Make sure you inspect. That hole needs to be clear because that's the oil hole. Make sure your push rods, you can see all the way through them. You can see there. Blow some air or some solvent through them to make sure they're clear all the way through. Once you have them all cleaned up, then you can start assembly. For assembling, I like to use this Lubriplate 105. The first step is we need to take a push rod, lubricate the end of it here, and then drop it down so that it sits on the lifter. Just going right down through there. Put a little lubrication on it. Drop it right down in there. So they sit right down in the seat of your lifters. Next, we're going to take the rocker arm, take the pivot out. We're going to lubricate both these ends and along these edges. Take a look down inside the rocker arm. It narrows toward the back, so we want the pivot. It narrows this way, down in like that. And do a second one. This one narrows toward the front. Lubricate the ends of the push rods. Lubricate the ends of the valves. This retainer, these notches go here on the push rod. So we've got the bolt holes now. You can see this one's oblong and this one's round. It allows you to have a little bit of motion. Rocker arm just goes in. When we tighten these down, the stands will go into this retainer bracket, and that'll keep these straight. As you tighten these down, depending on the position of your camshaft and which cylinder you're on, it's going to compress these valve springs a different amount, or maybe not at all. I like to get them, just relatively tight, just snug, basically, with a regular ratchet. Then we'll come back with the torque wrench and tighten them down. The torque spec on these is 21 foot-pounds, so not a whole lot. And that's in. Now just do all 8 of these. There we go. Now all of the valve train is installed. Next up, we'll put on the intake manifold and valve covers. It's important at this point especially to make sure you keep things covered. If something like a bolt or screw falls down in here, you have to disassemble the motor to find it. There we go. Thanks for watching.